Hello, welcome to part 1 of Coding for Kids in Scratch. Today we'll be going over chapter 3, which is all about making one more project together before we get started with the nitty-gritty parts of coding. Chapter 2 should have been a good introduction to what it's like to code in Scratch, and I hope that you did what I recommended at the end of the chapter and made a program of your own. And just as an example, this is an easy solution to the problem I gave you. It goes to the starting location and orients itself the right side up, and then it'll glide to 3 random positions. So if we run the program, you'll see that it starts at the starting position and then goes to a random location. And if I run it again, you'll see it starts at the starting location again very briefly and then goes to 3 random locations. And that's just an example of a very simple project you can make using the blocks that we've already learned about in Scratch. And if you're still in the How to Move project from last time, then you can click File, then click Save Now to save your project. Scratch automatically saves your project at certain intervals, but it's always good to take a little precaution before you exit out of a project. Then you want to click the Scratch logo to go back to the home page, and then we're going to click Create to make a brand new project for us to work in for this chapter. Now, to start off this new program, go to the Events category and drag a When Green Flag Clicked block to the code area. This is how we'll start most of our programs, if not all of them. And if we don't, you'll figure out why in that later chapter, but that won't be for a while. Now, go to the Looks category. Like we mentioned before, the blocks in this category will affect how the sprites appear on the stage, and this is where 4 of the most major blocks for speaking are located. The simplest way to make sprites speak, so to say, is to use speech or thought bubbles, and this will allow you to display a message on the screen that looks like it's coming from the sprite. And the simplest block is Say Hello, and it's the second block actually in the Looks category. So once you find it, click and drag it underneath the When Green Flag Clicked block. You can change the message by clicking on where it says hello and typing the message you want it to say, but I'll just leave it as it is. Now run the program. You should see that the blocks will just display a speech bubble right next to the cat, so that it looks like this cat is saying something. But it'll stay there until you press this little red stop button, which is the red octagon. The Think block, which is the 4th block, will do something very similar, but with bubbles to indicate thought instead. So you'll see that it looks like it's thinking instead of saying something. Now, both of these blocks can be useful, but there's another type of speech block that is in this section that has a little more functionality added to it. So, like I did right now, just drag the Say Hello block to the code storage to delete it. Then find the first block, the Say Hello for 2 seconds, and drag that under the When Green Flag Clicked block. And it's very similar to the other one. However, it has a time limit. So you can change the message to whatever you want. But once you press play, you'll see that the speech bubble appears, and then it disappears after a little bit of time without you doing anything. And by changing the message and the timing, you can actually create conversations between 2 or more characters. You can also deliver instructions to the players of a game through an NPC. And the possibilities with these speech bubbles are really endless, and it's the easiest way to connect with the user of a project. And using these blocks can prove instrumental in making a really good project or a really good game on Scratch. So to create more natural conversations, we'll have to use another block. And this is one of the simplest, yet one of the most important blocks in Scratch. And we touched on it earlier. It's the Wait 1 second block. So go to the Control category, and the very first block is the Wait 1 second block. So drag it under where it said the Say Hello for 2 seconds block. And then go back to the Looks category and drag another Say Hello for 2 seconds block underneath the Wait 1 second block. So your code should now look something like this. It says Say Hello for 2 seconds, then wait 1 second, then Say Hello for 2 seconds again. And you can change the message in the second one to something else. So I'm going to have it say, How are you? As if it's starting a conversation with us. So it'll say hello, wait a little bit, and then it'll ask us, How are you? So now let's click the green flag to see what it does. And the cat is going to speak twice. And it should have that little natural pause in between so that it feels a little more like someone actually talking to you rather than it just repeating it very quickly, unlike how a human would talk. So you can edit the times for each block to make it feel a little more natural. For example, since hello is shorter, I'll make it maybe 1 second. And maybe I don't want it to wait so long in between the words, so I'll change the wait to half a second or 0.5. So now when I run the program, it'll say hello with a shorter break, and then it'll ask how are you, and that one will appear for a little longer so you can actually read the entire message. And you should understand that by changing the timings and adding pauses between speech bubbles, you can create dialogues or instruction sequences or so much more, and it'll all feel fluid and natural, just like another person talking to you. So in addition to speech bubbles, Scratch allows us to add sound to programs to add another layer of depth to the project and to make another way of quote-unquote speaking within the project itself. So go to the sound category, which is the third category and actually the simplest in all of Scratch, because there's only a few blocks and all of the blocks are pretty simple to understand. So find the first block, which is play sound meow until done, then click and drag it between the when green flag clicked block and the first say hello block. So that way your code should look like this, where it's first the when green flag clicked, then the play sound meow, then the first say hello, then the wait block, and then the second say hello. Then run the program. The sound should play at the very start of the dialogue, then the dialogue should go through as it was before, and then the program should automatically stop. Then the rest of the blocks in the sound category are pretty simple. They'll just alter how the sounds are being played. So the change and set pitch blocks will change how high the sound is, and the change block will change this pitch incrementally, and the set block will just set the value directly to some different value. For example, by using the set pitch to 100 block and putting it between the when green flag clicked block and the play sound meow block, that way when you play the sound, it'll come out being higher than it was before. So for example, if we run the program, you'll hear that the meow is now higher than it was before. And the other option in this drop down in the change pitch effect block is to pan left/right. And pan is essentially designed for headphones or stereo speakers, where it'll say that it'll move the sound from the left headphone to the right headphone. And this isn't something for beginners or people who are just using Scratch just for fun. So it's not something you necessarily have to worry about right now, but if you want to try it, you can feel free to try it. Then the next block after that is the clear sound effects block, which just simply clears any effects applied. So then find this block and then drag it under the wait block, in between the wait block and the say hello the second block, and drag another play sound meow until done block right under the clear sound effects block. So that way your code looks something like this, where it has when green flag clicked, then the set pitch effect, then the play sound meow, then the first say hello block, then the wait block, then clear sound effects, then play sound meow again, and then the second say hello block. Now when you run the program, the sound should play once at a high pitch and then once at a normal pitch. So let's just hear it. And while these sounds are playing, the dialogue is still going through as it was going before. So then the rest of the blocks in the sound category have to do with how loud it is, which is letting you incrementally and directly set the value of the volume. So let's just add a change volume block between the clear sound effects block and the play sound block so that we can hear what it sounds like. To make it a little more obvious, maybe let's change it to -20 instead of -10. And now the sound should play once at a higher pitch and a normal volume, and then once at a normal pitch and a lower volume. So let's play it and hear it. It might be a little hard to tell, but that second one actually was a little quieter than the first one. So you can feel free to use the rest of these blocks on your own and just get familiar with them, and because using the sound and using different speech bubbles can add a little creative touch to your projects and make them a little more interesting for your user to use. But now you should have a good idea of how to make characters speak in Scratch. So now just name this project How to Speak by clicking where it says Untitled and typing in How to Speak. So that way you can always look back at it to remember the principles of speech in Scratch. So now let's move on to the next chapter where we'll finally start using the control category.